Okay, so today we are going to edit clothing that's already in GTA, and by extension, then also we can make custom clothing that we can then bring into GTA as well. So the first thing we're going to do is make a reference model, just so we can make sure our clothing fits properly. So in my favorites, I have stream pads, so GTA 5, X64V models, CD images, and streampads underscore MPRPF. Inside of here, we are first going to take out a skeleton, which we'll need because that's how all the clothing is rigged. We'll just do female today. So we've got a YFT file, we've got MP underscore F free mode, and also the male is there as well. But we're just going to take out the female. Right click, we're going to export the skeleton, and we're going to put it in reference here. And then we are also going to just take out the mesh of a female as well, so that we can kind of model the clothes around that. So if we go into the multiplayer female free mode, we need some feet. They have sandals on them, but that's fine. Export to open formats. We're not going to worry about hair. Not going to worry about hand. We are going to worry about head. Take that one out. And we're going to need a lower. And then I think we'll just need an upper as well. Looks good. So first, let's just get that female model. If I go into 3ds Max, and we're going to import. Let's remember where we put it. Those four. Let's not worry about the textures. Doesn't matter. Wait for it all to import, which will just take a little bit. You can see we've got all these fake bones, which is what happens when you bring something in without a skeleton attached, which is why we're getting the skeleton for what we're going to do later on. So all we want to do is get these meshes, like the actual model part. We don't care about that. I can go over there. So for each of these, so for the feet, we're going to take the high. So it's got the low, medium, and high poly version. We just want to take the high one out. And we're going to do the same for the head. Yeah, wherever that would be. Ugh. Give me your finger. Oh, there we go. Head. Oh, I can't scroll while I'm doing that. That's all right. I'll just chuck it there for a minute. And delete that. Lower. Maybe I won't expand it all this time. And the high. And the upper. High version there as well. Get rid of all that. Don't worry about this jacket sitting there. That's for later. Oh, I accidentally took out the medium head. I don't think it will matter. That's fine. I'm not going back. We're too far in. So what I'm just going to do is attach these four things together, we can see, we scroll in, we have basically the outline of a female model. So I'm going to go across and we're just going to click on the mesh. And click attach, just say match, attach, attach. And what we can actually do is we can delete the mesh and the skin, and we're just going to save this not as a GTA model, but just as like an object or an FBX. And we're going to call it female ref. And then I'm going to go file, export, selected, and we can save it in our reference folder. And we could just save it as female ref. So now, if I ever need to make clothing again, we don't care about textures at all. I can pull this in and reuse this every time I want to make clothing. So we'll leave it in here at the moment. I'll just hide it at the moment. So then we will go and look for something that we want to edit. So in this case, I'm going to do a jacket. I'm at Toby's website here. I'll put links to these things in the description. And let's pick this jacket here. Looks fine. Just looks like a jacket. And it shows that it's in this location here, and it's JBIB 009. So we can go to OpenIV. We can search. And it's in here, and we want JBIB 009. Oh, we've got it in two parts. There we go. So say we want to edit this. We're going to right click and we're going to export to open formats. And let's put it in jacket. So this will work for clothing, it'll work for hair, basically any part of a multiplayer model. So we've got JBIB 009 underscore U. You know what? I should grab the textures. That would be smart. And we're using 009A uni. JBIB 009A uni. Looks about right. And we will export that as well. And we'll pop it in the jacket directory. So now that we've got those, we can see, got our texture there. We do have the normal and spec as well. So normal and spec are embedded. And so a lot of the time for clothing, the normal map and the spec map are embedded because they don't change generally. And then the diffuse texture, so like your color texture, often that's not embedded and that's an external texture dictionary, because then when you're actually making your clothing, you can have multiple texture dictionaries with multiple diffuse textures. And so you can change them when you're in the game. Just to import it in, I'm going to copy those and chuck them in here. So they're just all in one directory when I go to import it. So before we import it, when we imported all those parts for the model, we had all those fake bones. We don't want fake bones, we want real bones. So we're going to get real bones. And what we're going to do is going to take our reference skeleton, this free mode skeleton that we exported before, and we'll copy it into our jacket directory. And what we're going to do is rename that skeleton. We're going to rename it the same as whatever we're editing in here. So we're going to rename it the same as this. And then we're going to put space, and we're going to put full. So we should have our model, and then we've got the same name with full under with scale, and then we've got our texture dictionary as well. So then we can import that in using GIMS, which I've put over here, and we're going to go import, and we're going to go to our jacket, and we're going to import the jacket, and the textures were in here. And so this time, instead of seeing all those fake bones, we're actually going to have the proper skeleton imported. It'll still take a little while. It thinks about it while it's doing it. So you can see, let me just bring that up a bit. Ooh, freaky. You can see that we've got a skeleton here, and then we've got the jacket as well. And this is basically the format that you would keep. And if we go, we can see we've got the high, low, medium versions. You could hide the low and the medium, and then you've just got the high version there. So if you wanted to edit the high version, you can do more than just edit textures. You can then edit the actual mesh itself. So if you wanted to add something to it, you wanted to manipulate it in some way, you can do that. And then we will be able to export this back out, and it should actually export properly. So say I was going to just edit it. Let's go and just edit the high version. And we'll go to the editable mesh, and we're going to add an FFD, which allows us basically to just manipulate the cloth. And let's just do something stupid, like just pull this. Oops, don't do that. Go into the FFD and edit the control points before you select it. And we can move them. And let's just we're gonna make a really, this hood just needs to look like this. This is exactly what we want. Beautiful. Look at that, gorgeous. And we want to just pull these out as well, just on one side, just to show. So then if we were, that was perfect, and that's exactly what we wanted, then we will be able to export this. And I'll just chuck it on my desktop. And you can see we should have all our model there with the skeleton. Continue. It's going to think about it. Exporting and importing clothes just takes a little bit longer than your normal models, just because of the skeletons. I didn't check to see if I embedded the textures, but that's okay. Give it a moment. And then if I go back to OpenIV, let's just go, and we will open a folder. We'll open our jacket folder, and we will go into edit mode, and let's just take in, I should rename it. I don't want to overwrite it. Let's just make a new temporary folder called new folder, and we'll open that instead. And let's put our edited file into there. And then you can see we have our edited jacket ready to use in game. It's beautiful. Obviously, this isn't what you would do to it, but that's exactly how you do it. So by extension, we can then actually do custom clothes. You can make whatever you want. So to do that, let's just get rid of this junk. We'll go back in here and let's just go back. Let's just undo the silly things that I have done. Back, back, back. Oh no. Can I go back far enough? Will it let me? It won't, you son of a bitch. That's fine. Let's just re-import it. And the textures. And we'll bring it back in. So now say I want to make my own jacket. This jacket's nice, but there's something else that I want. So what we can do, say I've got this jacket here. Oh, it's very small. That's why I can't see it. Let's just hide all this for a second. Oh, no, it's floating above. There it is. Oh, it's very big. There we go. So say we've got this jacket here, and we want to bring this jacket into the game. Let's just bring it down a bit for a start. And let's just center the pivot up there so it's not floating miles away. Then we're going to bring it down, say to there. And we'll scale it down as well. Looking better. We can move it up, for example. Now, much like in my other videos, I'm not going to do this perfectly. This is a process video, is to show you the steps you need to take to get there. So what we would do is go to our jacket here. So we've got the high, the low, the medium version. If I was actually going to make clothes, I would make all three. You could just do a high, but then everyone's going to be drawing the high version. So it's not very good for server performance. I'll just demonstrate with the high, but then I would reduce the polys on the high version, and I go to low and medium. If you weren't sure how many polys each version would have, if we went to the high version, for example, and we go to the mesh, and let's just put a Pro Optimizer on it. So we can see the high version has about 5,500 polys. Medium, $2,000, and then I guess the low would be lower than that as well. I'm just going to delete these two for simplicity's sake, and we'll just keep the high version at the moment. So what I want to do then is attach the jacket that I'm going to bring in onto the high model that I already have here. So if we look at the high model that I already have, we go to the mesh, we go to poly. We just select one of the polys, we can see that the poly ID is 1. And if we go to my jacket and select polys and select one of them, currently the ID is 1. What I want to do is I'll Control A and I'll select all the polygons on the jacket that I'm bringing in, and I'm going to set them to ID 2. And then what I'm going to do is attach it onto that jacket. We can match material IDs, click OK. Now it looks a bit funky. That's because the NORs and everything have all messed up because of this, but don't worry, we can fix that afterwards. Oh, did I go the wrong way? I ran the wrong way. Let's just go back. 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 Um, don't do what I did and go the wrong way. So we're still going to go to these, set the ID to 2. But instead of attaching the jacket onto our model, we need to go to our model, high. My eyes are glazing over. Where's the high version? You. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this one. And we're going to go to the poly, and we're going to go attach. We're going to attach it to that. Do the same thing we did before. So now this high version has both jackets in it. But we know that the ID for the one we're going to get rid of is ID 1. So we can select all of ID 1. The other ones are still ID 2. So we can select all ID 1 and go delete. And now we have our jacket sitting there where it should be. Now you can see that it looks funky. It's all blocky. There's a couple of ways to fix that. The way I like to fix it is if we go to the editable mesh and we'll add a modifier and we will edit normals, which is somewhere. It's very blue just because there's so many. We can go Control A and we can unify them. And then we go to edit normals and we will collapse 2. Now you see it's much smoother. You can smooth it in different ways. I like to use normals. So then what we'd want to do is manipulate this so it fits on the model. A good way of doing that is to pull out our female reference here, because that female is going to be how the jacket sits. So then we can go back to our high and we will want to move this down. So, we'll bring this down a bit. Do we need to scale it up? Actually, it looks pretty good. Actually, it could probably be a bit bigger. We'll scale it up a fraction. That might be too big. Again, we're not going to do it perfectly. You would also want to, pull the sleeves down. The one I used before, the FFD, is very useful for resizing things, particularly if you're getting male stuff and you want to resize like the chest area for females. So we'd add a modifier. You can do these 2x2, 3x3, 4x4, or you can select box and you can actually set the number of points. So say you wanted to be able to manipulate this a lot more granularly, and go to control points. And then we could say select, these along here. Pull them out a bit. Or maybe, you want to pull the whole thing forward a bit. I mean, you can even use FFD for, pulling these down. Although I think I would, you do more rotation and that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you how to do the process. So then, say you got it perfect, we go to our FFD and we would collapse 2. If we were going to then make a medium and low version, for example, we could right click and clone this. And instead of calling it high, it was med. And then on the medium version, we could get the mesh. Oh, did I clone that as a instance? Don't clone it as an instance. Let's just delete that. I'm going to take the high, right click, clone, copy. Always do it as a copy. Never do it as an instance. And we call that medium. Then we could go to the mesh. We'd run, say, a Pro Optimizer. This jacket has too many polys anyway. You might want to bring that down first. That's a whole different story about, optimizing polygons. That's a video on its own. But say we were going to go like 50%, we could bring it down to 50%. But you can see we start to get holes and that kind of thing. And then we'd right click and we'd collapse it to that. And then we could go again for the low version, etc., etc. And then let's just check the materials. Because this is from the model we were using before. Because the polygons aren't there anymore, that texture won't get used. And this is just the material that I had already for that jacket. In this case, let's just make sure we embed these just so we can see them once we export this. And then we could say export it. And we'll put it on the desktop again, just cause. Continue. Very good. It's thinking. One million years later, while I'm doing that, let's just. Oh, I got rid of my new folder. No wonder I'm so confused. It's going to write. It'll probably take a bit just because there's so many polys on this jacket. I wouldn't have that many polygons on a jacket I was going to have in game. I'd try and match it as much as possible. You can make it slightly higher than, the generic assets. But, it's not great to have it astronomically high or anything like that. Let's just make a new folder on my desktop while we're waiting. As long as this doesn't go away, if this closes, then it's crashed. As long as it's still sitting there, yeah, you're still good, basically. And I still have faith that I'm doing this correctly because I don't want to have to do this again. Good, good. Sometimes the exports are very, very long. But I'm very, very lazy and I don't want to edit my video. So it's thinking. There we go. Almost done. Okay. Very good. So we'll put that on the desktop. Open IV. We're going to go into our new folder. I might have to close that because it was open when I deleted the folder. Go back in. And we're going to open a folder. Desktop. New folder. And edit mode on. Drag it in. And there we have our jacket. You can see at the moment it's got the high and the medium version there. We can You see we've got the high version. Oh, do them at the same time. Now, I will say the thing I did wrong, which was deleting the medium and the low version and then just renaming it. The best bet is to keep the high, the medium, and the low there, and then attach the modified versions onto them, renaming them, re-identifying them as number 2, as I did before, for each of the different models, for the high, the medium, and the low. So don't delete them like I did. If I just deleted this medium and export it again, we might have to wait 1,000 years for it to export again. Or hopefully it would be quicker. But I don't think it would be. Is it going to be quicker? It's not. It's going to be ages. So if we just did it with the high version, basically what I did is because I deleted the medium and the low version, instead of keeping them and then attaching my modified medium and low models onto the ones that pre-exist, it's kind of merged them together because I'm a big dumb. But there you go. Technically sound, disgusting to look at. We could wait for the high version to export, but I'm not going to wait that long. That is the fundamentals. Obviously, if anything was too confusing or you had any questions, you can let me know, and I'm happy to help.